And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. And you?
So we thought we had the show notes done, and then the Broncos have the audacity to trade Devaughn Vele, making us change everything. We need to have a chat with somebody in the PR department.
Well, at least we weren't traded. So we've got that going for us.
How would you feel if you got traded to, say, I don't know, Oregon, for the sake of argument?
Well,
the state, no job, nothing. You just the state of Oregon.
I think it would be intriguing.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a little rainier there. I know that, right?
Yeah. But
so
if you're going to be traded to Oregon, you might as well go to a place like Bandon, where they have that really nice golf course, Bandon Dunes.
If that's where that seems like a good logical conclusion. Not Portland.
No.
Not Portland, no. Not even Cannon Beach or Lincoln City, but Bandon, where you have championship golf at your beck and call. That probably would be a pretty good idea.
That's awesome. All right, real quick. I want to let you know about Roller Auction. The best way to buy what you want at the price you want is at Roller Auction. Today, Planet Open Box is having an auction for small appliances, sound bars, household goods, camping equipment, workout equipment, and more. Online bidding is started at rollerauction.com. To learn about upcoming auctions, go to the same website, rollerauction.com. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Broncos have traded Devaughn Vele to the Saints for a 4th-round pick in the upcoming draft and then a 7th-round pick in 2027. How surprised were you by this move, and what do you think of the haul they got in return?
The rate of return is fantastic. They pick up a 4th and a 7th for a guy that they spent a 7th on, and a guy with good potential and good upside.
Yep.
He has value. There's no question about that. But I like the move. I think in Joaquin Davis, they feel like they've got a guy that, if he is indeed the guy that moves up the rung and maybe gets a spot on the 53, that they feel like they've got a guy that is a very similar type of receiver. But to get just a 4th round, never mind the 7th round, just to get the 4th round pick for a guy that you picked, 3 rounds later the year before, I think is a really nice move by the Denver Broncos. So did it surprise me? I mean, I did a little bit of like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But when you stop to consider what they got for it, and where Devaughn Vele really had kind of fallen in the shuffle. I'm not saying fallen in what you think about him, but just kind of he's been a guy that we've wondered about a little bit in this preseason, a guy that we think has great upside, but a guy that's been kind of hobbled a little bit and really hasn't been, he's flashed, but he hasn't been a consistent performer so far this fall. Summer. So I liked it. I thought it was a good deal.
It's interesting when you look at the chronology. They trade Tim Patrick. Oh, no, they're trading Tim Patrick. It's okay. They have Devaughn Vele. Mm-hmm. Now they trade Devaughn Vele. That's okay. They have Pat Bryant. So at least they have somebody waiting in the wings. I think something else that it does as much as anything else is it opens up a roster spot. Yeah. And I hate to use the word forced. And somebody said to me on social media when I put a tweet out there talking about this topic I'm about to bring up, they're like, well, they weren't really forced to do this. Yeah, in a roundabout way, they were forced to keep 6 wide receivers. They were not going to get rid of Trent Sherfield Jr. No. They were not going to get rid of him. He was brought in for special teams, proved he can play wide receiver. Now the trading of Vele opens up a roster spot for another position where they can keep depth.
Yes. And everything now is pointing towards next Tuesday. And some of the self-described difficult decisions that they're going to have in with some position groups, and anything that gives them a little bit more latitude is probably a welcome thing for them. I mean, Sean talks about it all the time. You don't want to put good players out there that 2 years down the road all of a sudden become a problem for you to deal with, but that's the nature of the beast, right? You've got 37 guys that are going to be affected on Tuesday when you cut down from 90 to 53. I think my math's right. So, you've got to do everything that you can do to put yourself in the best position to have a little room to maneuver. And this was a room to maneuver deal that also was, I think, too good to pass up, quite frankly.
Right. Here's something interesting. When you look at the history of George Paton with this franchise, he was destroyed, and probably rightfully so, for hiring Nathaniel Hackett. Same thing for bringing in Russell Wilson, although all of us would have brought in Russell Wilson. It just didn't work out. He was killed, and rightfully so, for bringing in Randy Gregory on a huge contract, and that didn't work out. But boy, he has done a 180, and let's be fair here for a second. What he has done, coupled with Sean Payton, it looks like almost every move he has made has been a winner. But if you believe that this Vele trade is a great trade, it is, considering they got a 4th-round pick. Think about this for a second. There were some trades yesterday. Nothing was anywhere near a fourth round pick.
Right.
With that, this is the 3rd best trade in George Paton's career as the Broncos GM. 3rd best. I'm not going to go chronologically with this, but I am going to go chronologically on how it unfolded. So if you remember, he traded Bradley Chubb for a 1st-round pick at the deadline. Getting a 1st-round pick at the deadline is nearly unheard of. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And what did that 1st-round pick turn into? Trading for Sean Payton. Not bad.
No.
So this
pretty
is
good.
So the Vele trade is the 3rd best for George Paton. Good on him. Is everything forgiven now with George Paton when you look at this roster? They hired Sean Payton.
Haven't we been past? I mean, I've been past that point for a while.
I know we're past it, but has the narrative about him changed when so many people were upset with him for specifically Hackett, Wilson, Gregory?
Well,
doesn't it feel like it is so far in your rearview mirror that it's over a horizon line?
Yeah. It's kind of like, I wouldn't even discuss it. I mean, George Paton is part of what's right with the Denver Broncos. He's not part there. If there are any problems right now, and I don't know what they would be, he's certainly not a part of it. I mean, I think his work on the draft alone has been well worth his weight in gold. Just the draft alone. To your point, and it's always worth reiterating because people tend to be revisionist conveniently. The Russell Wilson deal was a deal that anyone would have made. Now, the paying of the contract, okay, maybe that crosses the line into, but you were going to have to do that anyway. The deal probably doesn't happen without some form of guarantee of an extension on the contract. So that, but Eric, who would have passed that up at the time?
I can tell you,
good at the time.
I can tell you who would have passed it up. The Seahawks would have passed it up.
Sure.
Because they knew. The other 31 teams did not.
Right.
After the trade happened, there were a lot of people in Seattle, media, so on and so forth, who knew the inside story with Russell Wilson and the relationship with Pete Carroll, how his teammates, talking about Wilson's teammates, felt about him. They all started coming out of the woodwork saying he had to go.
Yeah.
We don't feel he's the same player. Kind of not necessarily difficult, but didn't have a bunch of great relationships necessarily in that locker room. Maybe, just maybe, if Peyton did a little bit more digging on why Seattle wanted to get rid of him, then maybe that deal would not have happened. So I'm not going to let George completely off the hook because there was research to be done. And if you truly dug deep on it, Russell Wilson would not have been worth at all giving that type of money to or giving up that capital. So, no, I can't say that George Paton is completely not at fault on this just because everybody would have done it. No, everybody wouldn't have done it if they had all that data.
I think it was a very
in hindsight.
In hindsight, of course.
But people in Seattle were saying this.
Yeah, but at the time, it was a very popular move in Denver. Very popular move.
It was a popular move in Denver because ignorance is bliss. And all you're doing is looking at a quarterback who puts up big numbers, ticketed to the Hall of Fame. But there was a clear downslope to his career when they traded him. That's how Seattle felt about him. But because we don't watch him every day in practice, what he's like in the locker room, what he's like in team meetings, so on and so forth.
Sure.
If there was more research done, or maybe they just didn't want to believe it, what they heard, or maybe they thought we can resurrect this guy. But the information, honestly, was there. I've always been a supporter of George Paton. I think that he gets an unfair rap. Everyone is entitled to a bad head coaching hire. There are plenty of GMs who are considered great GMs who have made at least one bad coaching hire. This one, unfortunately, was a complete unmitigated disaster.
Well,
Nathaniel Hackett might be arguably one of the worst head coaches of all time.
Well,
might
thank you.
be.
Yeah. Sean Payton, I think, would tell you to hold his beer because he would agree with you on that one, right? And he has said as much.
Right.
It was the combination, because we started to like for instance, how would that have worked if Payton had been with Russ the first year? Now, first of all, it wouldn't have worked because Sean would have nixed the deal probably. Yeah, right. It just wouldn't have happened. Having said that, though, the thing that really made the Russell Wilson thing an unmitigated disaster was the fact that it was the pairing with Nathaniel Hackett, who just didn't have any guardrails on the guy. And so it ended up being just not a very functional marriage in terms of production, in terms of wins. It never got to that point. It got better with Sean, but Sean and George were willing to eat $80-some million of a deal just to get rid of the guy.
Right.
That's all you really needed to know. But, at some point, for some people, and I think that most people are way past that because they're flush with the possibilities that this team holds. Obviously, Bo Nix has taken away the whole issue at quarterback now, we hope. And we move forward with everybody contributing in a very positive way, and that includes George Paton.
Do you think if we don't see Pat Bryant play like he has done or did during training camp, this trade is made? I notice I didn't say Troy Franklin. They're two different types of receivers. Pat Bryant is more cut out of the same mold of a Sutton, a Vele, a Tim Patrick.
No, I think the depth and the quality of depth in the receiving room allows something like this to happen. And I will be very curious about a guy like Joaquin Davis, who I know that they like.
Yep.
And he's about the same size. He's just maybe an inch smaller and maybe 10 pounds lighter than Devaughn Vele. But he's a long, rangy guy with a wide pass catch radius. That is an intriguing guy. He may be the type of guy that can, if they don't claim him on the 53, that can get through waivers. But I think the answer to your question directly is they are very confident in the depth and the ability that they have in that room to go to the season with 4 guys they have a lot of trust in. 5 guys, really, that they have a lot of trust in, but 4 that are going to play in a rotation. It puts more reps on the plate of Troy Franklin, and to your point, and it's a good one, it opens you up to, you don't have to necessarily fill it with a receiver, but it gives you another spot as you start to stack players for your 53-man roster next Tuesday.
Do you think there's anybody else on the roster that the Broncos could possibly trade to get something in return, knowing that they have more than enough depth on this roster and maybe another team wants one of the Broncos players? I'll give you a good example. Teams are always short on cornerbacks. They are going to, or I'd be shocked if they didn't, they are going to cut Damari Mathis. This guy has started a lot more than a few games in the NFL.
Yes.
You're not getting a 4th-round pick for him. You might get a 6th or a 7th, but at least you're getting something. So in the same vein as Damari Mathis, is it Damari Mathis? Is there somebody else on the roster they might be able to trade before they cut and lose that guy for nothing?
I don't think that I question how much tradability there is in the running back room, but I will admit, thinking about Jaleel McLaughlin not being at practice yesterday when the Devaughn Vele stuff broke last night, and my brain immediately went to, oh, well, is there something brewing there? Now, look, I don't think that there's trade. I don't think Devaughn Vele had some value, big, rangy receiver. I think that the cornerback room, they do have guys there that probably aren't going to make this team. But if you could trade them before they go into waivers for a team looking, Damari Mathis is a guy with some value because of his experience.
What about Jordan Jackson?
I think he's tradable. I wouldn't trade him. I think he's on the 53.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think if it's between he and Uwazurike, and I don't know if that's, I'd have to recalibrate the balance of the roster now with Vele being taken out of the mix. I'm not sure which position they go to add another piece. Might it be the defensive line? Would Jordan Jackson, now they signed a defensive tackle yesterday.
Yeah.
So my guess is I think that Uwazurike probably doesn't make this roster.
Jarrett Stidham arguably has had one of the best training camp / set of preseason games of any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to top completing 30 of 38 passes. Okay.
Yeah.
If a team came calling and said, we'll give you a 5th-round pick for Stidham, would you take it?
No, I don't think so.
4th-round pick. I can keep going.
See,
I can keep going down. I can go. If you say no on the 4th, I'm going to go to the 3rd. If you say no on the 3rd, I'm going to go to the 2nd. There's always a price for somebody, generally speaking.
You start getting to the 3rd round, and I think that
third day or the 3rd round.
I think if you're dangling a 3rd rounder for him, then
that's not going to happen.
Well, okay. Well,
realistically, it would be a 5th.
Yeah, probably
or
not for a 5th. No, and nothing. I don't think that I would even. He has proven he's in his 3rd year in the system. He has started games in the NFL. He has performed well and has improved greatly in this offense. I think that you can bridge the gap for an injury with him. I don't know how far I would go. 5-6 games might be a bridge too far for me, but I think that he can hold the fort down, and I think he can win you football games.
Can Ellinger?
I would be more hesitant to say that. I would say not as much confidence.
For those that are saying maybe the Broncos can get something for Jarrett Stidham. For starters, I don't know too many quarterbacks that have gone down in the preseason.
Right.
There hasn't been a rash of injuries. But the other thing is, smart business men and women think long-term more than short-term. But in this particular case, with a backup quarterback like Stidham, he is your safety net, just in case something happens short-term to Nix. In this case, I would do the short-term, not the long-term, so I can get a 5th-round pick.
Right.
That is not worth it. For Vele, that is worth it because they have 5 guys to choose from.
Yeah.
With Nix, for those that are saying, well, maybe you get something for Stidham, you have no guys to choose from.
No.
If Nix goes down. Not a knock on Ellinger, but it would be far more difficult, I think, to win games with Ellinger than it would be for Stidham. So I think you have to be present with him.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he would not be on the table for me.
Okay. Coming up after the break, speaking of quarterbacks, the Broncos, we knew they were going to catch a break week 1 of the season, playing a rookie quarterback. Now, who are they playing week 2? Is that a break as well? That's next. Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or over $25,000 in cash the weekend of October 24th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their players' cards. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, phenomenal promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. What you doing for lunch today? What you doing for dinner tonight or later this weekend? Highly recommend you go to the best barbecue spot in town. Talking about Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. So stinking good. Everybody has their favorite barbecue spot. I certainly understand that. But it's your basics. You got brisket and pulled pork and wings and ribs and things like that. But when you go to Smokin' Dave's, it's the way he puts things together that you don't see at other barbecue spots. I'll give you an example. They have something called the Heart Attack, which is absolutely fantastic. It's 2 jalapeno cheddar biscuits topped with bacon, pulled pork, shredded cheese, 2 over easy eggs, house-made sausage gravy. When you go to a typical barbecue spot, you can get all of those things individually, but you're not going to get them all on one plate. And that's why their menu is so unbelievable. The creativity that Dave has in what was his past life, where he combined everything that he learned, put it on one menu. The desserts are all homemade, outstanding sides. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It's not just the best barbecue spot in town. It's one of the best restaurants in town. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
All right, Bruce, we knew the Broncos would start the season against Tennessee and more than likely a rookie quarterback. That's what they have. They're facing a rookie quarterback week 1. Then they're going to face the Colts. It was either going to be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. It is going to be Daniel Jones in the second game. Sean Payton has talked a lot about getting off to a fast start. So really, could it have gone really that much better? Clearly could have gone better, but for the most part, could it have gone that much better that you're starting against a rookie, and then in your second game, you're starting against a guy who many consider to be a first-round bust?
Daniel Jones, if you look at the numbers in this preseason, has actually been worse than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Richardson has completed 56% of his throws.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones has only 53% of his throws. It is set up as well as it could be for the Broncos. If you short of playing both of those games at home, it's about as good as it gets. You're going to be a strong favorite in the game against Tennessee, 8.5 points, something in that realm. And then I would suggest that you will be a favorite on the road in week 2. So you have a great chance to get off to a 2-0 start. And then you have 2 games coming back that are 50-50 shots, right? I mean, probably you got to go to LA to take on the Chargers and then come home on a Monday night to face Joe Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and the rest of the crew. Although not much of an offensive line and a potentially weak defense in the Cincinnati Bengals at home. So, I mean, as purveyors of that first quarter of the season, there's really no reason that when you look at it, that the Broncos shouldn't be 3-1 by the time they get through their first 4 games.
I was reading the Indy Star Tribune earlier this week, and I read something, a quote that sounded very familiar. It could have very easily come out of Garrett Bowles' mouth. Instead, it came out of Quentin Nelson's mouth, a future Hall of Famer for the Indianapolis Colts, a stud guard. You know, when he came out in the draft talking about Nelson, you could have made the case he was the one can't miss pick in that draft. Yeah. I think it was universal that this guy is going to be a star.
Yeah.
With that, this is what he said. He's like, I am getting exhausted. It is discouraging that every year I'm playing with a new quarterback. He goes, there's just no consistency. Sound familiar?
Sure
Sound
does.
familiar?
Absolutely. Minus the love that he has for whoever the quarterback is, because Garrett's very good about, loving his quarterback, and and that's always been a consistent theme. But you are absolutely right. Don't think that continuity doesn't play a huge role in the success of teams. Anytime that you can piece together a coaching staff, a roster, and there can be continuity over the course of a few years, you're going to be far better off than starting from scratch each and every year. Can Daniel Jones be a good quarterback in this league? He's been a good quarterback at various times, never particularly sustained, but he's been a good enough quarterback in this league. But when you lack continuity and you lack history in a certain place, it can be hard to take the reins and just start from scratch. But that's where Daniel Jones is going to be. And for the Broncos, I think it's a really good 1-2 punch to open the season with a couple of quarterbacks for different reasons that should be manageable for a defense that I think most would consider to be one of the best in the NFL.
Want to take a hard right turn. It seems hard to believe Buffs start the season a week from tomorrow against Georgia Tech. Yellow Jackets are expected to be very good this season. Overall outlook, give me a thumbnail on what you think of the Buffs this year.
I think it's going to be a very different looking team. They're going to try to run the ball much more convincingly and consistently than they have in the last couple of years. There are questions at the quarterback position. I don't care who's come in. I understand you've got a rookie and then you've got a veteran, but you've got a totally different kind of situation right now in your offensive approach. I'm not sure about the offensive line. They have not proven really over the course of a couple of years that they're a particularly good run blocking offensive line. I do think that they have gotten better, certainly. Colorado, for me, has the look of a 6-6 kind of football team.
Yeah.
That's about where I've got them. I missed on them last year. I didn't have 9 wins for them last year.
You don't believe, Bruce? You don't believe?
Oh, I believe that they're a 6-6 team.
If they beat Georgia Tech, will you believe now? If they beat Georgia Tech, will you believe now? Georgia Tech's supposed to be more than pretty good this year.
I mean, Colorado's a 3.5-point favorite, so take care of your business.
Colorado's a 3.5-point favorite against Georgia Tech?
I think they were. Have Alex check on that for me. I haven't looked at the number, but they were a 3.5-point favorite.
Oh, I would take the Jackets all day.
Favorite.
I'll take the Jackets all day and lay the points.
I see Georgia Tech favored by 4 right now.
There we go.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, then I
just
stand
checked.
corrected.
Just a touchdown swing, Bruce. Stop gambling on sports, would you please?
But boy, now you know why I don't. Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. I will say this. I think that they are going to. I just talked about continuity, right? I just talked about continuity. Now it's more of a challenge the way that Prime does it through the portal. Continuity has more to do with his coaching staff than it does really with his roster, because a lot of his roster changes so much year to year. He's comfortable doing that. He's coming off of a 9-win season. I'm not going to debate that, but I do think that I think the schedule is much more difficult for him this year.
Yep.
And if you're going to have a good season, winning this first game against Georgia Tech is almost a must. Almost a must.
Okay, and I hear what you're saying. Georgia Tech is expected to be really good this year. Mm-hmm. I would just, generally speaking, when you look at baseball, and you and I have talked about this,
right?
Unless, of course, you're the Rockies.
Hey,
you're gonna. I know they're on a roll. They beat up Ohtani, and they've won 7 of their last 9, and they are now ticketed for a solid last place finish. With that in baseball, you expect to win 60, lose 60, whatever happens in the other 42. When I look at this game against Georgia Tech, this is not a knock on Colorado. The point is there's some people out there that follow college sports more closely than I do that believe Georgia Tech could actually knock off Clemson this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. They just have that type of team. With that, I look at the Buffs game against Georgia Tech as one of those gonna lose one of 60, not one of the other 42.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They win. If they win, that is a statement. Major statement. If they lose the game, again, they're 4-point, talking about the Buffs, they're 4-point underdogs at home.
Yeah.
At home.
And they're playing a team with a veteran quarterback, a proven veteran quarterback, and a program that has a lot of continuity.
Right.
They have been building for the last couple of years. Georgia Tech has been very much a program on the rise, not a rapid rise, but a slow, steady rise. And I think it's fair to wonder a little bit about what Colorado has. You can put a lot of faith in Prime and his coaching staff, and I don't begrudge anybody that, but we really haven't seen this group of players on the field, and it takes time. It takes time to build those intangibles.
Bruce, you talk a lot about continuity, and in Sanders' first year brought in a whole mess of players. What did they do? They started 3-0. Well, so much for continuity. Last year, they brought in a bunch of new players.
How'd they finish?
Continuity to me has to do with the beginning of the season more than the end of the season. When you have a whole bunch of guys,
totally the opposite, but that's okay. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Well, then let me try to explain better.
Yeah,
doesn't mean I'm not trying to convince you. When you have a bunch of new players, okay, generally speaking, you're going to have a slower start, and then once the continuity starts to gel, then you in theory will get better. In the Buffs' case, in their first year, it's not that they got worse, they played better teams. Maybe they weren't as good as everybody thought the way they started the season. Chances are, if you have a lot of new players, you're going to struggle more at the beginning of the season than the end of the season. Is that fair? Is that fair?
Yes, that is fair. Yes,
that's my point.
Fair.
That's my point. So last year, bunch of new players in the transfer portal. What did they do? They started 4-1. So when we talk about more new players on the roster, has Deion Sanders at the very least bucked the continuity narrative to start the season?
I mean, I guess technically, sure.
2 straight years.
2
straight years.
Yeah. Right. And so, but I mean, it's a program that's been 500. If you're going to talk about the starts in 2 years, how about the results in 2 years? It's been a 500 program so far. It's been a 500 program. Now they finished 25th in the country last year, and they challenged for the Big 12 championship. You give credit where it's due. Now my question about continuity is, can you do it again this year? So there's the next question about, well, I know, but continuity to me is to build a program and continue to keep it on a certain level. The challenge for Colorado this year for me is going to be, can you compete at a similar level as you did a year ago? Because the continuity in the program helps you to sustain that. I think the answer is probably not, because I think the continuity is a challenge every year. When you've got players that have never played together or at the Division I level collectively in this league, and they're doing it for the first time, and you're counting on that, we're not talking about NFL guys. We're talking about college-aged guys, 18 to 21.
But you're missing a huge point here. Forget about continuity.
Am I?
Quoting my good dear friend, Ross Perot. Can I finish? We could talk about continuity all day. I don't care how much continuity they have or had or will have going into this season. They lost 2 of the top 5 college players in basketball and football last season. Their quarterback and Travis Hunter.
Right.
So you could have continuity in spades. You still lost your starting quarterback, and you lost arguably one of the greatest college football players to ever play the game, when at the very least it comes to versatility. You lost your top cornerback and your top wide receiver.
You had those two players also the year before, and you won 4 games.
You know what? Listen,
it's the whole picture. It's the whole picture.
Bruce,
you've got to have 22 guys on the field in football.
You're going to find this hard to believe, Bruce. I've been very critical of Deion Sanders, and I've been very praiseworthy of Deion Sanders. We can sit and go back and look at 4-8. My issue with that 4-8 season wasn't being 4-8. My issue with that 4-8 season was after beating TCU. Do you believe now? He took a victory lap after the first game. That was my issue with him. They were arguably one of the worst division programs in football before he took over. They did improve. They were competitive. Okay? It was a whole – and they brought in all these new guys. I'm not saying a 4-8 record is anything to, hang a banner over.
No.
But they were I'm sorry, Bruce, hold on. They were considerably better. Yes. I understand what the aggregate says the last 2 years, what the record is. He took over a 1-win team.
Yes.
He hasn't built this team into a powerhouse. But the truth is, I don't think it's fair to say, well, he's 13-12 as a head coach. He took over a team that won 1 game. Yeah. You cut him a little bit of slack. 4 wins.
Eric, we're talking about continuity. I'm not talking about you're talking about something totally different now. You're talking about give credit where it's due. I give credit where it's due. We're talking about the whole idea of continuity and the challenge that it creates when you are changing your roster every single year. Don't tell me that doesn't create a challenge. Now, it's a challenge that Prime and his coaching staff take on gladly. Yeah. More power to them. But I do think that teams that have a consistency and I'm sorry to use the word, a continuity are always going to be an advantage of a program that is constantly churning over their roster. I just think it makes it harder to be consistently good.
Now let's look at the landscape today. Yes, the Colorado Buffaloes tend to do it more than others, but this isn't 1980s football anymore.
No, you're right.
Or 1990s football. This is the era of NIL and the transfer portal. And a lot of top teams do bring in a lot of players in the transfer portal. This isn't just limited to Deion Sanders. They do it more than probably other teams simply for the fact that they tend to target the transfer portal more than they do high school players. But let's be perfectly frank here. Just because you bring in a high school player doesn't mean he's not going to transfer the next year.
You're absolutely right. And that is and your point is a very good one. That is the challenge at this particular point. Even Jay Norvell up at Colorado State, who 2 years ago was railing against this system, NIL and the challenges that came with it, is returning only, I think it's 6 starters from a year ago.
Right.
He is now populating his roster much more with players coming in that ilk. So you're absolutely right.
So why not criticize him?
I don't know. Were we talking about Colorado State?
Well, but hold on. No, we're criticizing.
Eric, there's no criticizing. You don't stop it. We're talking about continuity.
What's the continuity of Colorado State then? We need to be fair about it. You're right.
The continuity there is a starting quarterback for the 3rd straight year. I mean, that's about as best as, and the fact that this is the 4th year of his coaching staff. So,
he kept his quarterback because he hasn't graduated yet, and he's not good enough to go in the draft. That's why he has continuity.
Well, you asked me the question, I answered it. Now you can argue the point all you want. He does have some degree of continuity, and he's in his fourth year as a head coach. They went to a bowl game last year. We can argue that, certainly. Everybody goes to a bowl game if you win 6 games. I mean, I get it. Look, I mean, and we're arguing about something we don't even really need to argue about. Both of us, I think, feel very strongly that Coach Prime has done a hellacious job with the program at Colorado. Yep. And he will be the first one to tell us, because he has, that there is still more work to do, that he is not satisfied, and he looks forward to the challenge. One of those challenges to me is consistency in the performance of a football team that we just don't know much about. I mean, we're sitting here saying this team can be 6-6, but that's more of a reflection of Coach Prime and what he's been able to get out of guys. But you bring up the point, and it's a damn good one. They had 2 of the 4 best players in the country for the last 2 years. Yeah. It's a different challenge now. Let's face it.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl, making the best possible day you can.